something bold and maybe be confrontational, but I think that some of the people that don't think scripts are important at all, either number one, have never called consistently a cold lead, right? Or number two, if they are having some success, they could have a lot more success than if they use scripts as a framework. Now, with that said, it's important to keep things in context. And I want us to do that with this conversation, is to keep things in context because originally I had proposed which one's more important, right? The script or how you sound. And science has proven, and study after study after study has proven, that how you sound is more important than the words on the paper. In fact, taking visualization away, 15% of what you sound or of what you're saying on the script is important, and the rest, and the difference, is actually how you sound. Your tone, your pace, your hesitation, your modulation. I actually asked this question in several groups. I put this question in context. I also posted it below here. I got some crickin' responses. Like, some of them were really good, and some of them were like, whoa, like, that really? And so I want to discuss some of the responses that I got in the private Facebook group. Give me your feedback. Post below what your feedback is based on what I'm going to share with you. So here's the question that I put up. I said, I had a fun debate with a group of agents today. And here's the question. How important is a script when prospecting or cold calling or doing a listing presentation with somebody you don't know? That was the question. Here's some of the responses that I got. Ready? So Jessica, I don't want to say their last name because this is a private Facebook group, but Jessica said consistency, once you memorize it, internalize it, and then customize it, it'll work. She also said if you went to your favorite steakhouse and ate the same steak the way you like it, and then all of a sudden the chef decided to just wing it, right? What would you think, right? So I think this is an interesting response. I'm not going to say I totally understand Jessica's point, but I do agree with the consistency part, where step number one is you got to start with a framework of something, because there's proven scripts that are out there, and memorize that and get that internalized. And then I like the part where you kind of put your personality into it, and all that's good. But one of the things that I want to go back to is making sure that we're in a position to focus on how we sound using that script, that we're using a recording system, that we're role playing, that we're getting feedback from our peers, that if you're in a structure and you're fortunate enough to have a top producer, you do whatever you got to do to hang out with them and figure out how they sound, right? So figure out how they sound. So one of the things that we actually had a Facebook user saying that scripts are talking points and a guide to a conversation. Yeah, I think that's really good. Now, here's my question. And this is another thing that came up on the group, which I like. This one came from Christopher. Christopher said, it depends on how many years of experience, okay, that you have in the industry, and how quickly you can think on your feet. And I like this, and he also goes on to say the more you do it, the more the script becomes a template or a guide, and the more natural you sound when you're talking to homeowners. I really like Christopher's response. I think it's there's a lot of legitimacy to it, and I think there's truth. And here's the deal: when you're brand new, you got to have some foundation. And when I'm working and coaching and practicing with, we had a Facebook user say that they agree. So when we're working and I'm coaching a brand new real estate agent or an inside sales agent, and we're talking about this conversation with scripts, the first 90 days, there's got to be a strong foundation or a framework where we're fortunate in our industry that prospecting and cold calling is not a new thing, right? So we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, right? We don't have to figure out how to go to freaking Mars, right? Because somebody's already laid that groundwork before us. So you got solid frameworks out there, and everyone's got their own little twist on them. I have my own twist. There's 100 different coaches out there that have their own twist on it. But you have a framework there. And for somebody new, I really, really believe it's important that you stay very close and locked into that framework. Now, if you have a good coach, all right, or in your ISA, or the coach that's working with your inside sales team, or if you're working with your inside sales team, they're going to focus on what I call the 80-20 rule. And we've all maybe heard this principle where 20% of what you focus on generates 80% of the results. So you don't want to focus on the wrong things. So in that first 90 days, if you're just getting ramped up and you've never made a cold call or prospected or called an internet lead, or maybe you're just getting kind of used to working through prospecting through your sphere, you don't want to sound like a fumbling idiot, right? You want to make sure that you're focused on, that coach is focused on honing in on how you sound. And here's the thing, if your script's changing 42 times, then how the hell do you fix it? How do you figure out if it's working or not working when you're changing the script? And here's the analogy that I like to give. It's a lot like golf. Like for those of you that are golfers, right? If you're in the beginning, your first 90 days trying to figure out how to golf, right? And you go and the coach tells you to use a pitching wedge for a pitching shot, but you're like, nah, I don't like the way that feels. I'm going to use a 9-iron instead. Well, you're going to get a different result with that 9-iron than you're going to get with the pitching wedge. And changing the words around too much in the beginning is going to really going to be tough. It's going to be tough for that coach to help you, and it's going to be tough for you to figure out how to help yourself. So I'd recommend finding a top producer that's maybe like, if it's not my scripts, finding somebody else who's a top producer that has done really well within that niche, model them, look at their script and their process, and start making the calls and getting the reps in, and then focusing on your tone, right? So here's a funny one. I love this. This conversation's ridiculous. So I followed up asking them if this individual, I called them out, or I'm sorry, this person, I'll just say their last name, Tommy, said lame, right, to my post. Lame. Okay, Tommy. So I posted back. I said, hey, would you like to do a prospecting challenge with me? And let's call some for sale by owners and expireds, and let's see who the winner is. And then we can see who's freaking lame. So I was having some fun with it, obviously, and some light humor. And this is the response I got back. They bailed. Okay. The response was, I don't make for sale by owners. I don't call for sale by owners and expireds. I've been around too long. That was the response. So I don't know how you participate in a conversation with somebody, okay, and you try to say the conversation's lame when you've never done it before in your life. You never even made a freaking cold call to a FSBO expired. And so then I had a great response come back from this group, which I thought was awesome. Jason goes, Isaiah, the ever so popular, I've been doing this a million years, so I don't have to prospect, right? So that was the response back, and they bailed out from the competition. So all I got to say, if you're going to add advice or you're going to make a comment about whether something's lame or not lame, or you want to give your advice, make sure you actually have some experience working, right, with this, with all that I would have to say. One says, another one says, I hate scripts. I don't use them. Another one says, what's a script? So, and almost every time, and here's what's interesting about this conversation. Almost every that about scripts or whatever it may be, it's not that I disagree with that, but I asked the follow-up question, do you make prospecting calls to people that you don't know? And almost all of them don't. Some of them make calls to internet leads, so they really haven't had to consistently make or consistently use a process to generate their business in the have not met marketplace. So they're going to come from a different perspective. Jess says scripts are great to get you started, but you really want to transition to having a conversation. What I found is that top producers have it in the background, but their ability just to talk to someone is what makes them great. Rome wasn't built in a day, though. Practice makes perfect, so role play, work your scripts and conversations, and keep learning. Jess, if you're watching this, I love that. I think that's some great advice. You don't want to, you sound too robotic. You want to make sure that it comes across the conversations. And as a top producer in pretty much anything in sales that I've ever done, that's what always been the case for me. I put personality into it, and over time I massage that, and I always make sure it's a conversation. I'm making sure that I'm hesitating, I'm modulating, I'm saying things in a way that don't come across too canned, right? And I think this video is a good example of that. You guys probably wouldn't know that I actually have a script down here in front of me. I hope you wouldn't know that. But I'm not reading it word for word, even though I have it written out. I'm using it as a guide because I want this to come across as authentic as it needs to be, as an example. So, Jess, I think it's great. We have so many other awesome comments that came back from the private Facebook group. But here's the deal. This is an important conversation. If you're in your first 90 days, okay, and you are trying to figure out how to prospect, and you are trying to get that framework down, find somebody who's successful at what they do, follow that as a guide, and focus more on how you sound per Jess's advice than changing the words too much in the beginning. And then over time, you can evolve a little bit, right? If you're trying to hire an inside sales agent, I promise you this is going to be the number one thing that you're going to have to go coach to, is making sure that they're not going off the rails and saying crazy things if they've never done prospecting before. It'll happen. They'll end up in a slump. The training that you give your inside sales agent in the first 90 days is everything. And I'm going to bring somebody on tomorrow or hopefully on Friday. His name is Scott Tartaglia. He's actually my VP of sales. And he's trained and coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inside sales agents. And I think he's going to add some awesome perspective to this conversation. Hope you found this interaction interesting. I sure did. Want to remind you that if you're if you currently are enrolled into the Sales and Marketing Secrets Academy, I want to remind you that actually I have a whole training, in-depth training on this very topic underneath, let's see, where is it? Underneath the Masterclass module number 4, I take a deep dive into sales and marketing. It's called Sales and Marketing Secrets. And it has everything in there that you need to know about understanding the psychology of working with a homeowner, a 7-step prospecting mastery system, taking a deep dive into for sale by owners and expireds, prospecting, improving your prospecting skills, mastering your listing presentation, developing a strong sales funnel, a whole bunch of other really awesome stuff, even how to hire and train and coach an inside sales agent. So if you have my class already, check it out. I'm going to be offering soon to the public the Sales and Marketing Secrets Growth Academy. Right now, I'm not offering it to the public outside of the clients we already have. But if you're a current client, check that the rest of your day. And I'll be back tomorrow with another daily dose of sales and marketing secrets. And I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day.